Those competitions, I'll be honest with you, those competitions cannot make you rich. You see? It is what you do outside the competitions, using the intrinsic value that you have gained, your body. That gives you character. You are different from everyone else. You see? That's why he's able to sell ebooks. He's able to sell workout returns.
For me, I take it as a business. Kuna ile hoteli kubwa na kuna ile hoteli ndogo. Unaona? For me, it's all about how smart you are. Literally. How smart you are. If you're smart in any business, you'll make money. Literally. So for me, I take it as a business.
Yes. Yeah, it's very risky because
it's very headache.
You can even get diarrhea and become so sickly.
Because your body is used
you're
to
eating a strict diet. You like the last 2 months. Your second last. You like take a chicken breast the whole month. You can't even chew that food. If you want to eat 2 times, 3 times, you're tired. So you have to mince it. And even we go to the extent of blending that food. That you're now drinking food.
Welcome back to the Shujaa Fitcast. As you can see, we have some heavyweights in the studio. One face is, by now it's very recognizable, and that's Mr. Anthony Njoroge, who has been at the represented studio a number of times. At this point, he's a mwenyeji. With us as well today, we have Mr. Richard Gitau as well. Karibu sana.
Asante.
Yeah, welcome guys, both of you. Thank you for your time today. Today we are going into the topic of bodybuilding a bit more in depth than we did with Anthony before, and I'll hand over to the guys to take over this episode because they are the professionals. I'm sure if you can see the physiques properly on camera, this is not my league. This is Iniligiso. Yeah, the gentlemen are here to discuss a number of topics that I will hopefully guide us through, but primarily they will be the ones to give us this information regarding professional bodybuilding, not just bodybuilding. So both of you are competitors. You're in the world of competing on the public stage. So I'm looking forward to this conversation, and why don't we begin by introductions? Anto, you've been here before, so maybe today we can start with Richie to introduce himself.
So, hey guys, I'm Richard Gitau Mushiri. I'm a bodybuilder. I'm a professional bodybuilder, personal trainer. Yeah, for now, yeah. And also, I'm a businessman. I do business. I love business. That's one thing. So everything I do in terms of also everything in bodybuilding, I try to entail it to a business perspective. Even what I'm competing right now I'm trying to get my IFBB Pro card. It's all about his passion and also business wise. So yeah.
Karibu sana.
I'm your usual guest, Mr. Anthony Njoroge. Today I've invited my fellow bodybuilder so that we can shed light on what actually happens when we are preparing for competitions. So sit back, don't blink. Let's get started.
Nice. So why don't we start with maybe a short history of each of your competitive journey, where you began, when did you begin, what inspired you to start competing? Again, we had Anto's story before, so maybe Richie, you can start and then Anto can remind us shortly what inspired him.
So for me, I've been, let's say, active and into fitness and sports from a very early age. My first time when, let's say, I was in primary school, where I started to do push-ups, pull-ups. I was in a boarding school. So the dormitory had those rails on the ceiling. So that's why we were doing pull-ups and doing push-ups. But at that time, my mentality was, I want to look good so that the ladies can see me. So at that time, that's what it was. I went into high school. High school, we didn't have a gym, but also I continued with the routine, push-ups, pull-ups. And also once in a while I was in high school. For me, one thing, I won't lie about this bodybuilding thing. I feel I'm born for it, literally.
Do you mean your genetics or just your passion?
Everything, yani in terms, not even genetics or passion, even how things align themselves.
It is his purpose.
Yeah, it's the purpose. Yeah, the way things align themselves, you're like, oh, okay. So when I was in high school, did push-ups, pull-ups. There was that where a stone imetobolewa shimo, alafu mneka kijiti, Flintstones, unapiga. And also once in a while I was going, let's say, to the gym when I was at home. That one, you get aka 50 bob, you rush to the gym, train. So when I finished high school, I was going a little bit to the gym, and then until I was called for campus, Egerton University. When I was called to Egerton University, the first thing my mom told me, I know one of our family friends who was there, it was a lady. The first thing I was like, hey, kuna gym hiyo mtaa. The first thing, even I didn't want to know anything else, I'm like, is there a gym? So when I got into first year 2015, that's when it all started. For me, I was just training. Yani, I woke up early in the morning. Even at some point, I was like, hey, even right now, when I sit back, I'm like, hey, when I was in campus, waking up at 5, going to the gym. Yeah, I was really determined. Yeah. So it was like that. And then in 2018, I guess I was in that year. First of all, when I was in that year, 2018, it was 2018. Yeah, 2018. So I saw, it was after a long holiday, I saw some pictures, people went for competition. It was Mr. Kenya. Mm-hmm. Not the other year, Sasa 2017. Mm-hmm. People went for, I was like, kwani mimi nilikuwa happy. Where was I? So that's when I heard there is a competition in 2018. So see, I started training Sasa towards the competition. So I was like, I look good. I'm looking at the pictures, I'm like, these guys, I can try and beat them for sure. So I started training. So I started my first competition. Already I saw maybe I had that physique, even though I was a little bit smaller. I had that physique. So in 2018, I started with Kamkunji. The show that I'm putting on, the one that you are seeing my picture that is being marketed. Mm-hmm. That one was my first show, Kamkunji. Yeah, even I was like, people should go to that show. That's the first show I did in Kamkunji. Didn't know anything. You're being told not to eat banana. You're being told during that morning you eat watermelon. Yeah, there were a lot of misconception. You're being told not to drink water. You're being told not to drink water for a whole week. There were a lot of misconception. And at that time, for us, when we were in Egerton, we were being sponsored for bodybuilding competition. We were taken as a sport by the schools. The university bus was taking us. So for that show, I became third. So
that's good for your first show.
Yeah, I became third. I was like, I can do this. Let's do it. We continue. Mr. Kenya, September. So what happened, Mr. Kenya? Literally, it was during my long holiday. Me, I was like, no, I can't go. One of the guys who was sponsoring our competition was the DVC of Egerton. So he has a project in Egerton where he tries to, it's the project, the one that you try to fund the businesses. You come up with a business idea, the startups. Yeah, mm-hmm. He had a startup. So I was like, hapa lazima nijue venye nitafanya. I got an internship there. But I'm still at school. It's a long holiday. Me, I didn't want to go home. I knew when I go home, everything in my year, just I couldn't train, I couldn't access the gym like I could here. Everything, I couldn't do it while at home. So, but all that was to prolong to go to Mr. Kenya. Because I knew I got everything. Nikiwa hapa, I've gotten everything. At least ukiambia mzazi ati uko shule atakutumia tu pocket money, uko internship hapo. So at that time you got everything. Sasa si ndio nikasema hapa. And then the internship, it wasn't that much. I was going to the office. There was nothing to do. So it was all about going to the office, eating training. And at that time, I've come to notice people who, let's say, are skinny, and then you try to build muscle. At some point, you build lean muscle. And then when you reach a certain point, that's when you start gaining fat. But before, let's say, the first 4 years, you'll be lean all through. So it was the case for me. Because I didn't have chicken. I didn't have, at that time even, I couldn't afford chicken meat. Me, the only thing I was prepping with was beans and rice. Even, I didn't know how to prep, literally. So for me, it's trying to push the gym, You are trying to push hard. It's not about dieting or anything. Because at that point, I'm still lean. You see? Yeah. You know, I wasn't a big person that I'm trying to cut down. I'm still lean. You see? So mine was just pushing, going to the gym 2 times. Even I'm waking up in the morning, in the evening, I'm at the gym trying to go for that Mr. Kenya. So the time reached, it was around, I guess, September, October, around that time. So I went, we were more than 40. Kidogo, I'm noticing I'm top 12. I'm posing the finalist 6.
Who taught you how to pose?
YouTube. Everything is YouTube, literally. It's not about at some point, if you want something, you'll find a way to learn it. Because even I was the first person in that university to do the men's physiques, so I had to learn it by myself, trying to pose from YouTube and everything. You see? So that time I got into the finalist top 12, and then when we went to the final, 6 were removed. I was among the top 6. I was like, oh.
Impressive.
And it was my first. And you know, men's physique, literally, it's competitive. As this guy, men's physique is the most competitive competition, literally, even compared to open bodybuilding.
So even on the Olympia stage,
it's the most competitive.
So competitive because the difference between those athletes are like very few.
And there are a lot. You see,
there are many.
There are many.
They have the best physiques. The judges have a very small time to judge between who is better than this.
And also so men's physique, compared to open bodybuilding, men's physique, it's not that it's easy to achieve, but the work you have to put compared to the bodybuilding guys, it's much kind of lesser, if you understand me. You won't find that a lot of people 300 pounds with muscle and everything. But for men's physique, you'll find a lot. It's very easy to find a lot. So we are a lot. So the minute we are a lot, it becomes even more competitive.
Yes.
Even the same case in Kenya. The first thing, when someone tries to compete, even the open bodybuilder look like at Machiala. We started with him at men's physique. Before he went to open bodybuilding. Even most bodybuilders, the first thing, they don't want to go with the trunks. They think about men's physique.
Yeah.
Very true. Sure. Everybody thinks about men's physique. So it tends to be competitive. Literally, it's the most competitive competition. So at that time, becoming 6th, I was like, it was, I guess, Oyata, Shaban. You know Shaban?
Yeah.
Alvin, an Indian guy, and the guy who won the first Iron Classic, the short guy. The kissy guy.
Ule jamaa mdogo.
Hey.
Sharp vizuri.
That was the 5th, then me the 6th. You see?
Yeah.
So that was Sasa my first competition.
This guy had a stellar beginning.
So you understand why. So you understand why I'm telling you when I feel I'm born for this, and literally even the way things are going, you're like, you have to push. And it's like this is the lane that God chose for you, and you have to be smart and know how to handle that in such a way that it's not only your passion, in such a way also it can make you money in terms of business. Right now, we are not working for passion. You can work for passion and then you don't have food. It doesn't make sense. You have to make your passion too. You need to make money for you.
Your passion has to make sense.
Yeah, it has to make sense.
If it doesn't make money,
that's why I'm like, for me, I look at a business perspective. For me, literally in my head, even I tell Anthony, for me, I want to be the best. Anthony, you remember when I was going to Romania, did I have any doubt of winning that show? Every caller was...
This guy was like, I'm going to win that show. Yeah. And I'm feeling like, to be honest, I was feeling like, that is a champion's mentality. But that champion is jumping in a den of lions. And he doesn't know what he'll find there, and it was so I decided to just sit back and watch.
Literally, I never, in my mind, I never saw me.
Every day we used to call losing. Every day and told me, naenda kuchukua hiki tu. That was his mentality.
Oh, after 2018, we went to 2019. Yeah? 2019 is when I finished campus Iron. We went for the first Iron Classic.
Yeah, that's where we went.
2019. 2019, the first Iron Classic. It was the first one. That one, even literally, I didn't prep. I knew like 2 weeks. Yani, for sure, for that one, I'll say I was just like joking. Even the fact that I placed like 6th place was, it was a miracle. Literally. The 2019 one, the one that was at museum, Nairobi Museum.
Yes, the first
one. That one I was joking, literally. 2 weeks, that's when I'm like, I'm looking lean. Let me jump into it. Nowadays, you don't do something like that. So that one I jumped in. I wouldn't say I prepped anything. At that time, Machiala is prepping. Machiala is coming. Me namwambia, I've moved. I was just here at Chicken Inn eating chicken, and it's like 2 weeks out. Machiala is like, you are joking.
You're joking. When Machiala tells you are joking, he means it. Let him chezo, bro. Let him chezo,
You're joking. You're joking. Yani, how do you eat chicken in and you're 2 weeks out from the competition? At that time, I didn't know how to prep. Literally, I had done 2018. I'm doing the same way. I'm still lean. But for us, it wasn't that shredded lean, you see. I was still lean. So I jumped into the show. It went how it went. I was shredded still, but I didn't feel, when I look at that physique, I was like, that was...
Could have done better.
So Sasa, when you get into 2020 after COVID, I think relaxing at home made me fat, Sasa. That's when Sasa I became fat. That's when I reached around 83 kg for the first time. I've never reached 83 at that time, Sasa 2020, when we relaxed at home. I wasn't doing a lot because the gyms were closed. So at the first time when the COVID came up, even training was hectic. You couldn't train because you couldn't access the gym. So when let's say like 1 month to COVID and everything, that's when I started looking for a gym. Those gyms za mtaa zilikuwa zimefunguliwa, so I started from there. So I became big, 83, and I'm used to 78, 76, there 73. So 83, where even my stomach is out. You're like, where? So Sasa, I had the competition for Iron Classic. But the competition of Iron Classic is the one that has only been happening until 2021.
Yes.
When they put
they pulled out the last minute.
The Mombasa.
Yeah.
The Mombasa.
Yes.
Yani 2019, it was Iron Classic, the only competition that happened with Kamkunji earlier.
Yes.
2020 also, it was Kamkunji. Iron Classic na Kamkunji. Kamkunji and Iron Classic.
Kamukunji was like... Yeah. Was to happen the next weekend, and then
it was cancelled. It was cancelled. I remember. Yeah. And then Iron Classic happened 2020. It was the only show. I love 2021. It was Iron Classic. Iron Classic didn't happen 2021.
It didn't happen. They pulled
2022. 2021. It's only 001 that happened.
Yeah.
It's 2021. Yeah. So the 2020, I was like, hey, this one I have to prep. I called Wilson. Wilson Sasa is my mentor in fitness. That's the guy who was supporting me and who has taught me everything. He's called Wilson Monena. I don't know if...
No, I'm not sure if I know him.
So Wilson Monena, he's the guy who has mentored me in terms of also business-wise, looking at how, because in terms of fitness, because also for him, he's the guy who was doing the advert for Vassman. Vassman.
Lotion.
Yeah, lotion. Yeah. So he was the one who mentored me in terms of fitness. Also for him, he has prepped. He has gone to an old classic. He has gone to Vancouver. So he was the one who was prepping. And he had worked with Omav Ventura. You know the coach for Lucky Libra?
Yeah.
The Olympian. So he had worked. So I was like, hey, Mzito, I know you have the information. That's how to prep. I've become too big, man. Because before I was always lean. But right now, I've become big. So at that point, that's when I knew how to prep. Where? That's why, literally. At that point, you remember, gyms are closed. At that point also, it's when, for me, the gym was closed. I was like, what will I do? So where I stay, it's an estate. So I know the people from the estate, I went knocking to their doors telling them we can train because most of the people are on lockdown and we have a tarmac road. So we started training in the morning outside. So that's why I started making my little money, you see, because the gym, so you have to eat, so you have to look for. So that's what I did. So that's the money that I used to prep. So I started buying chicken. Hey, I didn't know it's this serious, man. That's where we met with our guy, the chicken guy. Chris from yes, that's the guy I introduced you to. That's where I met Chris. Every week, kilo 5 ya kuku. Because you are using like chicken breast, you are using like 1 kg of chicken breast a day. Yeah. You are eating like 1 kg of chicken breast a day. Chicken breast. That's when I saw my physiques started changing. That's when I prepped, literally, that time I prepped. I was posing, and also for me, when I start prepping, I never go for second place. I always go for first place. Literally for me, when I'm prepping, I always go for first place. So the competition came, I was shredded. Even you remember, I was shredded. It was in 2 Rivers. I was shredded.
It was held outside because of the
COVID. The floor was on fire.
Yeah, so the stage was refracting some heat. And so they had to pour water on the stage every time. So when you stand on the stage, your spot becomes too hot. Move back, unakanyaga mahali kuna maji kidogo, then rudi hapo mbele kupose.
It was hard. So at that time, for me, I knew, this competition. When I'm looking at people, I'm like, these guys, I'll beat them. Until I don't know what the judges thought that day. I don't know. Literally, I didn't know what the judges thought. The way they judged, I was like...
Yeah, of course.
Even you remember.
I remember after the competitions, you approached them and asked them what happened.
I was literally mad. Yeah. I'm like, you've seen what I've sacrificed. I'm like, I tried the home, training my clients at home, so that I can get, and then these guys are coming and doing like this, and I was shredded.
So it was in the evening when giza ilikuwa inaingia. So like napata Richie amepiga kelele hapo. Mbona. So kamuita kando Richie bana, sportsmanship kidogo. So he was like, no, you compare me. So you see that. But
literally they had faulted. Literally. Mm-hmm. At some point you don't just allow things to go. Literally. Ama wewe ulionaje? For sure.
Well, that time I think si kuangalia nini zenyu sana, but when I looked at the images, it was clear there were some decisions they made that were questionable. It happens. It's judging is a game of it's a game of the eyes, game of bias. It's a game of it's an illusion when they're judging. You see?
Maybe
so sometimes whenever I go for a competition, I normally go there with the idea that I will have to deal with bias. I will have to deal with better men than me. I will have to deal with the changing illusion every time you're going on the stage to pose again and again. So if you put into account all those factors, there's really so much going on.
It's so subjective.
Yeah, it's so subjective. There's the noise, people are shouting. So the judges there's confusion between the judges themselves. You see? Alafu unaona saa zingine judges, we expect when judges are judging, kila judge ana judge kivyake, then wanapatia yule mwenye kwa mwisho anatali hizo the points. So there was a point unaona judges wananongezana hivi na wananongezana hivi, so you wonder mnaambiana nini? Why should we even talk? Yes. Just you have the scorecard, make the scores, then mpatie yule mwenye kwa mwisho afanye tally ya mwisho hivi. So that happens, and I guess I'm not a judge. I'm not a professional judge, but at least I know what should not happen. Yes. And I guess with time they will be
But right now, so far, so good. The few competitions that happened last year, the judging was good. The competition last year competition, they were good, literally. So after that, but for me, I wouldn't give up. After that competition in 2020, I wouldn't give up. I was like, this one can't make me at because of what they did. Or I was like, this is just a small thing. It's just a small fish. For me, I have to keep going.
So actually, question: what's your main goal when it comes to competing? Is it the Olympia? Because I know that's for most bodybuilders. That's what you're gunning for.
For me, it's the Olympia, literally.
Yes.
For me, it's the Olympia.
What comes with the Olympia? Because for anyone who might be watching who doesn't understand why it's such a big deal.
Olympia is the Olympics of bodybuilding, literally.
Yes.
It's the most prestigious show of bodybuilding.
It's prestigious, and it is a heritage. Once you stand on that stage, whether you win or lose,
you are
Olympian.
It's top. Like the Olympics. You see how
you're among the top, top 20 or like bodybuilders in the whole world. So you can imagine that. So it's a heritage. It's like those soccer players like Kina Maradona and everyone. You still
it's
remember
like doing
them, right?
the World Cup.
They have statues. They have everything. So standing on the Olympia is like getting a statue. It's like I've done it all. Now I can die in peace. It's heritage. It's heritage. It's something your generations can come later and brag about it. Yeah, my grandfather Richard was an Olympian. He did this, he did that. It gives a sense of belonging. Yeah.
So is there do you think, in you guys' opinion, the bodybuilding, the local bodybuilding scene, is it ripe for sending guys there, or are we far behind?
For me, what I'll say, it's not about us sending the guys there. It's an individual sport.
Yes.
It's an individual sport. It's not about people thinking that you are the best, we should send you there. No. You first. It should come from you first. No, nobody, let me tell you something. Nobody will send you there. Literally. Nobody will send you there.
About our friend who is having a hard time getting a letter from the board to go play a game in South Africa. And the game, I think it's in
May 18th.
Yes. So, literally, they are unsending him there. They are wanazuia.
There's no serikali's idea.
For me, literally, even in my mind, I've never thought about the government. Literally. 100. This I'm not doing for the government. This one I'm doing for myself. Even at some point, I feel they don't have the right to brag when I do something. When I get an achievement, they don't have the right to brag. They haven't helped me in any way. So for me, there's nothing about sending someone to...
And even, let's say not even government, let's say, because I assume, okay, from the little I know, there's the Kenya Bodybuilding Federation, whatnot. There are these structures around the sport. Are those structures helpful for you guys?
They're not helpful.
Dead and buried. Yes.
For me, I will say bodybuilding is an individual sport. Don't depend on those guys. Be smart. Depend on people. Maybe the people who are around you, you look for sponsors.
Yes.
Talk to people, know how to talk to people. Like for me, most of the time, maybe let's say the things that when I was prepping for my competition, in terms of outside, accommodation, flights, I didn't pay for myself. I knew for the right people to talk to. For me, it's not about waiting for someone. If you want something, even now, I tell people, even in the bodybuilding industry, if you want something, even not even in bodybuilding, even in life.
Yes.
If you want something, you have to get it. Just set your mind right. Yani, just push. Because for me, literally, when I was planning on Romania, I was like, I'll do it. I know I don't have saved money or anything, but I'll have to go to the Olympia. I didn't save money for prepping or anything. But, not Olympia. I didn't have money saved or anything to go to Romania. But I knew in my head, I'll go. Already I knew. And I started prepping. I looked for a coach. I'm like, let's start. You see? So that's how it happen. So never wait for sure. Never wait for someone. Even in what sport, never wait for someone. Do your best. Even if you become the best in the world, in Kenya, you become the best, even in bodybuilding or in any sport, and then you wait for someone to come and notice you and say, I'll teach you someone.
No.
It never happens like that. Maybe
you just wake up every day, do your thing. They will notice you later.
If it happens like that, you might be the luckiest guy.
Thank you for sharing your journey. It's good at least we've caught up on that. If you haven't checked out Anto's interview, episode 12, it disturbed the internet. Please take your time and sit down and watch that. And you'll also learn a bit of background history about Anto's journey into bodybuilding. So we'll begin with some of the things I was hoping we could cover today and you guys can discuss, which is how do you know you're ready to begin competing in the first place? What's the criteria professionally?
So for me, what I would say, at some point it depends with you. For sure it depends with you. At some point, and also it depends with the consistency of training, because even someone asked me nowadays, I'm trying to engage much more with my followers, ask me questions, because I'm trying to sell my ebooks, my online training, in terms of business. So one of my followers asked me the same question. I was like, at some point, before, if you want to know if you are ready for competition, first train, have the consistency of training, see that your body is developing. You see, the minute you see your body is developing and you start, let's say, also you start watching, you see, for us, when you start, let's say, see your body developing, you want more and more. And that's when you start watching the bodybuilding competitions. You watch people who are better than you see. And then at that point, that's when you see, let's say, there is this competition, men's physique, there is categories, men's physique, there is open bodybuilding, there is classic physique. You see, at that point, maybe even when you look at one thing about bodybuilding, it's a game of seeing. You see how your physique looks and you compare with the guy who you are seeing in that category. You see, if you feel you have wide shoulders and you can get into the men's physique, you can try. Ikikata, you go to the open. People do like that. Yeah. It's not that you have to go into this one. At some point, you feel that you become a bit bigger. You like, I'll fit into open. But at some point, the first thing, you have to have the consistency of training. See how your body is responding. If you see how your body is responding, look at the game, because bodybuilding is a game also.
Yes, you have to check the standards.
Yeah, you have to check the standards, what they require, how your body is looking. At some point, you can't say, because you see, there are some people with narrow shoulders, but they're huge. Like how Phil Heath looks. Phil Heath is not as wide. Yeah, you see, you know, Sasa, if you're not as wide, obviously you can't go to men's physique. Because men's physique, it's all about shoulders, wide structure.
How far can you go shoulders?
You see.
Anto, any comment on that as well?
Yeah, when it comes to, I'll echo the same. Your body will tell you when you're ready to compete. And when you check, when you attend those competitions, or rather maybe view images of the competitors for the previous competitions in which you're intending to compete, you can look at their bodies, go do a gains check in front of the mirror, and if you have a specialist, maybe a person who can coach or tell you now you're ready, that's for sure you can proceed.
And who can tell you where you can fit in also. Yes. Because at some point, we need an extra eye. Even in bodybuilding, you have to send me a picture. You need an extra eye. At some point, you see, one thing in bodybuilding, for me, I'll see it's like I've not made any progress. But when the coach, let's say someone, he sees you have made a lot of progress. Because for you, you're seeing yourself, so you don't see any changes.
You're seeing yourself every day. It's difficult to
So at some point, you need that extra eye. And that extra eye will guide you to know which maybe category also you can fit in.
Nice. What are some common misconceptions about competitive bodybuilding?
There are many.
Maybe give me 3 of the most common misconceptions.
Well,
bodybuilding, send him a bouncer. For sure. People that see your big body, they're like, hey, this guy is a bouncer.
The people outside do not know the difference between a bodybuilder who is building his body for competing, for being a security personnel, someone who's doing it for passion. So every time they meet you, they're like, when you bouncer? No. Sometimes you just compete against yourself. Sometimes you just want a better version of you. You see? Another misconception is that maybe bodybuilding can... Those competitions, I'll be honest with you, those competitions cannot make you rich. You see? It is what you do outside the competitions, using the intrinsic value that you have gained, your body. That gives you character. You are different from everyone else. You see? That's why he's able to sell ebooks. He's able to sell workout routines. He's able to go to the gym and tell a client, I'll be charging you 50,000 per month, training with you 4 sessions a week, because there is that intrinsic value. So, yes, so bodybuilding...
For sure, bodybuilding can't pay you, literally.
Bodybuilding, if you're doing it for the competitions, doesn't really pay you. That's why you see everyone, after they become champions, they go after brands. Marketing, or rather they create their own brands.
They create their own
like
brands.
Sibam has his line of supplements.
Because if you look like someone like Sibam, let's say, Sibam, the money that he's being paid in the Olympia is
just pick up. Is it
$50,000?
$50,000. So that's like 7 million shillings.
It's too little, but the branding that guy has in terms of the money from outside. That guy is too down to earth in such a way we don't see the money, but that guy has a lot of money. Yes. See, right now he's the most followed bodybuilder in the world.
Because even people who are not into bodybuilding follow him.
Most followed, most idolized.
So you see, people, even that's what I wanted to say, where people say like bodybuilders don't have money, but that's not true. Because at some point...
That's another misconception. Yes.
That's at some point. Maybe, but for me, I take it as a business. Kuna ile hoteli kubwa na kuna ile hoteli ndogo. Unaona? For me, it's all about how smart you are. Literally. How smart you are. If you're smart in any business, you'll make money. Yeah. Literally. So for me, I take it as a business. Because you have a good following, you create your own brand. Yeah. Maybe if it's a clothesline, maybe it's some merchandise that you want to sell. You see, that's how you make money. Because like right now, the best thing about right now, the time we are in, online is everything. Online is everything. So for us, we can make as much money as we want. Me, I was like, literally, people are saying bodybuilders don't have money. Me, I was like, why is Simeon Panda driving a McLaren? Why is Simeon Panda driving a Lamborghini? Mbona nisiendesha? Me, I started looking at what those guys are doing. I saw everything they are doing. It's all about online. So for me, what I'll take bodybuilding for, when I do those competitions, people get to know who is this guy. Who is this guy? I'm creating my name. I'm using that value for the competition. I'm not literally ever since I started competing, I've never competed for money.
Yeah, for sure. We never, and we have to clarify
I've never.
At no time have we ever gone on that stage looking to win, so forward to win the prize money.
For me,
we win. We look forward to win hearts, win followers, and like the guys they see this year he was here, this year he was here.
So you're telling a story with your journey.
Telling a story, and it's going like towards the climax. So at no time, and we were discussing with him the other day, at no time have we ever competed with the aim of winning the prize money. Okay, well, if you win, give me the money. But that money is just like a food for like 2 weeks.
For me, I've never competed for money.
So bodybuilding, as much as wanasema hatuna pesa, I will say it boils down to the person. Yeah. How smart are you? How are you going to use the intrinsic value that you have to make something out of it? Yeah. Another misconception is people think bodybuilders have a lot of women. I think we need Shujaa podcast to go do an experiment, a social experiment out there. Do you know we get more compliments from men than women? Yes. Utakuwa unatembea tu tawaambiwa tu mzito huyo mwili iko sawa, then they just fist bump you. Well, with women it's something personal. I cannot speak for everyone. Yeah, but it's most people who bodybuild at our caliber, we do not build our bodies with the thought that these bodies are supposed to bring women to us. Hii mwili inafaa inilete pesa. No. Kama mi Twitter nikipost video tu kidogo hivi. Like right now I have like 2 guys wenye wananiambia, mmoja ni workout routine, mwingine nitamundia workout routine na nutrition plan. That's like 15,000. Yenye nitafanya at the comfort of my home within 2 hours hiyo nimetengeneza hiyo pesa. No. So it is the value that it brings. The believability that jamaa anatoshana hivi, anafanya hivi, anatupostia ki workout. So well, let me pay and see what's up with him. No. Yeah, so the industry has a lot of misconceptions, and I guess everyone has a way to work their way around them. Yes.
But also, what I would want to say, one thing, if you are, let's say, trainer over there, you are a trainer, let's say, at some point, you have to build your brand. You have to know what you want and look outside the box. You see? You have to look. The online world has brought a lot of opportunities. It's not all about personal training. You see, one thing about personal training, the minute you're not there, you can't make money. The minute you travel, you can't make money. You have to save up so that you travel. But when you move to online training, you can be in, let's say in Dubai, you're telling people to buy your ebook, people buy, and you can make money from everywhere else. You see. Even the bodybuilders, kwanza most bodybuilders, so bad, but at some point I feel so bad. I'm like, you guys, don't hide your physique. This is what should bring you money. Even that's what I was telling Gashau. You remember the Romania show? I was posting each and every day.
Yeah, every day. Everything he was doing. Going for shopping, he was posting. Trying out shoes, he was posting everything. Prepping for the posing.
Prepping competition. You show it. Because that's what people want to see.
Yeah.
If you hide your physique, how will you make money?
People like stories. Give them a story.
So at some point, we have the ability of making money, but people are not willing to look outside the box. You want personal training, yes, has money. But at some point, it's limited in such a way you can work with a certain number of people in a day.
Yeah, in a day. Yeah. You only have so much time.
Yeah. It's not, you have limits.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'll advise you guys, we try to go in an online perspective. See people online, try to post content through online. Yeah, because you can do personal training for long because also kufuata clients at some point it becomes hectic.
Yes, hata nikiingia gym when I see an OG,
it becomes hectic.
Nikiona OG akifanya personal training, like of course there are personal trainers when you're 40 and above, close to 50. Man, wanakaa ni kama wanasumbuka compared to the young guys. No?
For real. So at some point, yes, we love it, but at some point in life, we have to look for a way out.
Sustainable.
We have to look for a way out. Even though we are doing it, we have to look. Yes, we have to invest and do everything, but also, don't be there. Don't look at it. Let's look for ways in which we can make sure we can offer that services in online platforms.
Yeah, I didn't know today would be a masterclass in life. I realized bodybuilding is a very small part of today's conversation. This is but back to the bodybuilding side of things, how does your training and diet evolve over the prep period? And how does that differ from when you're not prepping for competition? I guess that's the on-season versus off-season conversation.
Yeah, so when you're bulking, that's when you're like, I would say for me, I prep for competitions in 2 phases, bulking and cutting. And I call that on-season for me. There are those guys who, when they're going to bulking, they call it off-season. So I watch my diet, whatever I'm putting in my mouth, every day. But when bulking, I accommodate foods that are not very conducive with our bodies, like wheat. Yeah, sometimes I'll go take, like today we have taken sneakers. Yeah, and we focus on the calorie surplus. Just eating on a surplus, eating the right foods, and we have those breaks for the like weekend. You can take a burger or something, and then you do like that for like 3 months or 4 months. Before now, you start prepping, cutting for the main competition. So you count like 4 months backwards from the day of the competition. That will be your cutting season. From there, you count like 3 or 4 months. That will be bulking season. But then you have to watch your bulking so that it does not get out of hand. We need the muscle, but we need quality muscle. So we watch our diets. Of course, a lot of meat and eggs. We eat the right fats, avocado. You're taking your olive oil, njugu, and of course you have your regimens. You have your regimens that behind the scenes regimens. Yeah. And when it comes to cutting now, first 2 weeks are very difficult because you now have to deal with cravings. You are withdrawing foods like you just call it turkey, like unasema leo, I'm not eating meat anymore, not eating anything that is sweet to my tongue. Sasa naingia caveman diet, boiling food. So the first 2 weeks to 1 month, literally it's a game of psychology.
For you it's first 2 weeks, for me it's the end of prep. When I'm preparing the end of prep, I see people eating food, I'm like, oh shit, I want this food, man. For me it's not the first 2 weeks, for me it's when I'm almost finishing the prep. Then it becomes so hard. People are eating cakes in front of you. Me, I was feeling saliva on my mouth. Yani, really, I want that thing.
Yes. So you from the first month, second month, third month, fourth month, you have different diet plans. Of course, you reduce the calories. Every month you subtract like 300 calories from your BMR calories. 300. Remember, you're subtracting most of them from the carbohydrates. You have to retain the proteins. Of course, a high protein diet. Also the fats, but you'll go reducing the fats via pole, but the proteins, they remain the same or even higher. Yes. By the time you're coming towards a competition, like 3 weeks out or 4 weeks out, you go on a keto diet. Keto diet means you're taking like 50 grams of carbohydrates every day. Those are like ndoma, 100 grams serving, mara mbili kwa siku. That's what you normally take. And then inafika time, like 2 weeks out, 0 carbohydrates. 0. You're literally taking meat. Na kama ni mayai ni egg whites, hadi hizo fats, yolk, kila kitu umetoa.
What's your digestion like at that point?
You feel like
at some point
feel like
you
quitting every day.
Your digestion at that point, for me, I feel at some point it's kind of in such a way that your body is used to a certain type of food. In such a way, if you bring something else, it can.
Yes. It's very risky because
it's very heady.
You can even get diarrhea and even become so sickly
because your body is used
you're
to
eating a strict diet. You like the last 2 months. Your mwezi second last, you like take a chicken breast the whole month. Sasa unaichemsha ndani ya nyanya na kitunguu tu na chumvi. The last month ni fish fillet peke yake. No. You can't even chew that food. If you do 2 times, 3 times, you're tired. So you have to mince it. And even we go to the extent of blending that food. So that you're now drinking food. Yes. You just find a way to get food down into your stomach. Then you go, of course, to the peak week. You do these, there are peak week recommendations. You follow them strictly and then you show up for the day. Yes. So
and what you've said there's that digestion challenge. What are some of these other challenges you guys encounter? Because I think you talked about this in the previous episode. Was some of the mental challenges?
You see, halfway through each prep, and I'm speaking for myself and maybe guys that I've coached closely. Do you know there was a time I went to town, tukapatana na Quadzilla. guy with big quads. And he was like, Antos to quit hii kitu. Ambia, nasikia nimechoka. I'm tired. He told me, wallahi nikipata tu mtu aniconvince hivi, nako for sure unaquit Anto. We just quit it and just to attend your show like my fans. Because you are unatoa foods zenye they are foods that your brain requires to function normally. No. You're depleting them. Unazitoa kwa diet. So, after time you just feel like quitting. You're dealing with so much emotions. And you can't even talk. During that time I prep, I normally just put on my hoodie, my headphones, walk into the gym. Normally I start greeting people from the door. Those days when I'm prepping for competition, I just go to the gym, straight to the cardio machine. Don't talk to anyone. I work out, I go home. Because you are minimizing those interactions, because people tend to be annoying. Not that they are annoying on a normal day.
You can't handle it.
You're just having so much you're dealing with in your brain, and there's so much incapacity. You're not used to. You even tend to forget people, especially when you deplete carbohydrates completely. The last month, your memory goes like boom, out. Yes, your memory goes out, and there are some people who, of course, the last month towards the competition, there are some people who complain about even things like low libido. I can tell you for sure, you can do this experiment on your own. Just go on a keto diet. Talk up zote kabisa. Just take protein and fat, and tell me by the second week how you will be feeling. It's really hectic. Yes, you just want to. Inafika time unataka tu compare ifike. He was telling me when he was going to Romania. He told me, Mzito, nataka tu compare ifike.
For me, I was tired. Literally, for me.
He told me.
For me, even it was not about quitting.
It's mental.
For me, I was tired. Literally, I was tired. You know, it reaches a point when you see, when shredding, you have to be on a calorie deficit. And for us, someone who is, let's say, like at that point, I was around 85. Maybe I require, like, let's say, BMR of 2,500 calories. And I'm taking 1,800 calories. I'm training as the same, I'm training harder as the same way I was training when I was bulking. I'm doing cardio almost 1 hour, 20 minutes.
Doing personal training.
And I'm doing personal training. You're on a calorie deficit. It's hard. And right now, and at that point, most likely you've shredded. You are maybe, let's say, around 9% to maybe 8% body fat. So right now you're like for shredding.
Yeah. At that point, the body goes to survival mode.
It's like survival.
Your genetics are for survival and evolution. So you push the body up to a point where it goes to survival mode.
But for me, I won't say maybe at some point it doesn't affect the way I am. Even I was telling Anthony, at some point for me, I like talking to people and everything. And for me, I don't like something that affects me. So I try as much.
That's a plus for him, man. When I'm prepping, I don't like anything to do with it.
For me, I try as much as possible. Prep doesn't affect me. Yes, I'll be tired on myself, but I'll be the same way. For me, I'll be just the same. I'll be the same.
So you've never gotten to that point at any point prepping for anything? That's never been a factor in your... Oh, okay, interesting.
Even the substance. When I was telling you I was taking the trend, I wasn't feeling anything.
I was asking him, Mzito, inakupelekaje? Ananiambia, I'm just okay. Amuliza, mnakaa na demu yako? Yeah, tunaonana tu weekend, tuko tu sawa. I was like, okay. Keep going.
So for me, at some point, the way he has said, the first thing he said before starting this conversation, for people he has trained and for himself, you see. So it depends with you as a person, how it affects you. Yes. Drugs affect people differently. Even
now that we've brought up that conversation, can we, how do you go so far? I guess we should start with the disclaimer before we go into this discussion.
Okay. The information we wish to share here, everyone is speaking for himself. It is not medical advice. We are not medical professionals. Do not do this at home. Also, we do this for personal. It's personal use. It's personal use of performance enhancement drugs. So, we do not distribute. We do not sell. We just have them, for personal use. And anyone listening to this podcast, if you wish to know anything about the performance enhancement drugs, the best you can do is maybe point you somewhere towards the how you will use them safely. The rest, it's up to you. Yes.
Yeah. So thank you for that. So going into now PD usage during prep, there's some of these things you guys have mentioned a little. You mentioned like trend and how it did or did not affect you. What's the basic outline of how that you work that into your regimen of exercise and diet? How does that begin for prep, or is it something you're doing throughout your career? It's just that during prep it goes more intense, or how does that work?
So for me,
thank you for listening to the Shujaa Fitcast. For more information and business inquiries, email us at shujaafitnesswarrior@gmail.com. Follow us on social media at Shujaa_fitness on Instagram, at Shujaa Fitness on Facebook and TikTok, and subscribe to our channel at Shujaa Fitness on YouTube. For audio versions of this podcast, check us out on Spotify, Boomplay, and Apple Podcasts. This show was recorded and produced at the Represented Studio in Nairobi, Kenya. Special thanks to Lucid for the background music.